See, this is the part where I don't know if I should be introducing you with your Arabic pronunciation name or the Americanized version of it.
Oh, both.
Both. Okay.
They're not that far off.
Which one first, though? Yeah. This is totally going in. Yeah.
So the American way to say it is Reem Edan.
Yeah.
The Arabic way to say it, notice how I said Arabic, not Arabic.
That was pretty good.
Is Reem Edan.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not too far off. When people introduce me on stage, they get nervous. They're like, ugh. I'm like, it's fine. You could even say Reem Edan. I don't care. It's not crazy far off.
Yeah.
And they can't pronounce the so it's not on them.
I have seen that a couple of times when, all right, so for the full intro of the show, welcome to Arabs in Media, the podcast and Substack. It's like a dessert topping and a floor wax. Featuring real human Arabs in entertainment and news. And if you're going to talk about us, we're going to show you to put some respect on our names, including the pronunciation of Reem Edan.
I take it back. It's Reem Edan.
Our guest today has a great life story, is a touring stand-up comic, has done some amazing social media. That actually was how I first knew of you, forwarded by the sis. And I think it's made the rounds in the Jamal family.
Oh, that's great.
For certain. And I've seen you perform a couple of different times. One was at the Arab American Comedy Festival this past year when it was in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So we went up for that. And then I saw you at the Belly Room not too long ago, which is here on Sunset Strip in Los Angeles. So Reem Edan, or the Americanized way.
Edan. Edan. No one says Edan. Edan.
Welcome to Arabs in Media.
Oh my gosh. Live applause. Wow.
That's pretty aggressive too, right?
They are so supportive.
They are very supportive. Welcome to Arabs in Media.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're with us. I'm so looking forward to our conversation, and I've been anticipating us meeting and talking on the podcast for such a long time. I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm really happy that another Iraqi American is in the entertainment space.
There's not many of us.
There's two of us so far.
Yeah. I know a few others. I know some comedians, but like not a lot of us.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder why.
I don't know. I feel like more Lebanese people, Egyptians, and Palestinians are in entertainment, culture, media, from my experience.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's because like there's more Egyptian movies and there's more Lebanese singers.
Maybe.
Something like that.
Not many Iraqis, had an immigration path to the U.S.
That's probably it too. Yeah. I mean, although I can't speak about Dearborn because I think there's a lot there. But yeah, yes. I feel like there was other countries that were prioritized in the exodus. So what is it? Is it diaspora or diaspora? Diaspora, I
think. Yeah.
Okay. I can't mispronounce it.
Either way, I think people know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Dearborn is quite a unique situation as well because it's got the largest Iraqi community in the United States, and the second one is El Cajon.
Yeah.
Outside of San Diego.
Yeah.
So both of those places are favorites for me personally, and you've listened to the podcast, I've said this ad nauseum, to buy my samoon, which is...
Samoon Iraqi, I love it.
And to buy gamer, which is this buffalo cream.
That's what gamer is?
Yeah.
It comes from buffaloes?
It comes from water buffalo.
We have buffaloes in the Middle East?
Yes. Yes.
What?
I know.
I thought buffaloes were an American thing.
Well, I'm sure there's a variety of the buffalo. These are water buffalo. And I think they're from the marshlands of southern Iraq. I could be wrong on that.
What's buffalo?
And we're going to test a lot of our Iraqi knowledge today, I have a feeling.
You're going to get added. The buffalo is not an Arabic. Someone's going to get mad at you for this one. I didn't know. Yeah. I'll ask my parents.
Yeah. So there is like processed gamer, which you can get like with brand names on them when you go to the stores. And those are the things that have the preservatives and everything. Mm-hmm. You got to get the illegal stuff.
Ooh. Like non-pasteurized?
Non-pasteurized, raw, like Robert or Kennedy, the guy who's going to be in charge of our vaccines from now on. He's probably
on top of it.
All for it.
Yeah.
He's like, there's nothing in here to get you.
Yep. Yeah. He's already have holes in his brains. He's fine, yeah.
Exactly. But Iraqi gamer is made from water buffalo, and it's basically like a double cream or like a clotted cream that you might get from an English specialty store. Mm-hmm. And you basically... smear it on a plate with the other half being like date syrup. dibis.
Yeah, dibis.
Right, you just grab your samoon and you just swirl it between the cream.
And samoon is bread, if you don't know. It's Iraqi bread.
Right. And it's got a whole name, like Dad and his dad jokes. He goes into this whole thing about how a British guy named Simon was in Iraq and he like came up with the shape of this bread.
Really?
And so people just started calling it samoon.
There's a lot of words like that where they're like, I can't think of it right now, but there's so many words where, for example, they'll be like, oh, tufar. And then you're like, what does that word mean? And it's like, oh, because some English dude back in the day was like 2 4 1. And then it became an Arabic word, tufar. That's not a real example, but that's like, I keep hearing stories like this from my parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would explain a classic rock radio feature called 2 for Tuesday.
That's funny. Yeah.
Well, you get a double shot from the same artist all day long, which was a feature that ran its course and stayed on for another 20 years after its usefulness. But yeah, there are lots of words in many languages that do that kind of thing. My dad was telling me years ago how there was a word that had crept into Iraqi Arabic, and I think it was either anxious or nervous.
Okay. Oh, probably anxious.
Yeah.
Well, it's also kind of like watching Lebanese TV or just like any Arabic speaking show because they're like speaking Arabic. There's anxiety. And then like, you know what I mean? There's so many little words like that. Hollywood. على التلفزيون. Like, you know what I mean? It's fun. I like when they do it. I like when they sprinkle. They do it in Bollywood too.
Yes. And they do it in so many different languages. Like you'll watch Spanish TV and it'll be the same thing where you'll hear a word in English that just doesn't translate.
Yeah.
And it just pops in and you're like, oh, well, that totally was better than trying to translate.
Well, sometimes it translates, but it's just more on trend to do it.
Right. Yeah. It makes more sense. It lands better for sure. Watching Arabic TV, I don't have enough occasion to take in enough of that, but those are the things that really set it apart is you see people who are like deep in culture.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll like come up with a word.
Yeah.
That'll be
هذا الشيء يعني كتير cute. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh.
I feel like the Lebanese are really good at that.
Very
more
good
than anything else. Probably because they get more camera time, right? Their own TV shows.
Probably.
And everything.
Yeah.
But here we are, 2 Iraqis in the wilderness, and
Los Angeles. Oh,
in LA. Right. Oh, and so the Dearborn thing.
Yeah.
So I went to Michigan State University. Like how I ended up there is a whole nother story. So I went from the Chicago area in an area that had 0 Arabs besides my family.
Yeah.
And then I went 4.5 hours into Michigan.
Okay, nice.
And I go to East Lansing, Michigan, to Michigan State University. And I'm meeting all these kids for the first time, our first semester, and we're all in the dorms. And most of my floor mates are from the Detroit area. Mm-hmm. And so everything the first few days is like, where are you from? What kind of a name is that? That whole thing. And I kind of needed a fresh start based on some nefarious things that happened my last year of high school. So I went from Hazem to Haz just to like bridge the gap and like start off, fresh.
You need to delineate in some ways. I love it.
Yeah. It's a coping mechanism in some ways, but
that's why I lose weight after breakups. That was the old
Who
me.
Doesn't?
Yeah. I've literally shed her.
I go by Lilac now.
Yeah, exactly. The LA wilderness.
So everybody's asking me, and I'd say, oh, my background is Iraqi. And the first 3 people who asked me, are you Chaldean? I was like, no. And I was embarrassed because I had no idea what Chaldean was.
Same. Yeah. It took me like talking to people in Michigan to be like, huh?
Right.
What are you?
Which is not a good reflection of Iraqis to not know about the diversity, the diversity within diversity or diversity? Diversity. Mm-hmm. There's a diversity avenue in Chicago, just for the record. I worked on that street when I was a kid. That's funny. That's where my knowledge gap comes from. Yeah.
Today I found out that I have been misusing the word dollop. It's dollop. It's not dollop. And I tried to school someone. I was like, listen here, buddy. I'm a copywriter. I know words. And I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, it's dollop. It's dollop. Did you know that?
Yeah, a dollop of like sour cream, right?
Okay, stop bragging.
So yeah, Chaldean was brand new to me.
Okay.
And Chaldean, I don't even know what the official definition would be because I'm going to obviously piss off somebody, but Chaldean are Iraqi Catholics, right?
And there's a difference between Assyrian and Chaldean.
Right. That I'm aware of.
I just know there is a difference, and I've been told several times.
I'm with you.
But I'm not going to say it, lest I mess it up.
We're going to have a virtual high five on that one because I agree we don't want to offend the Assyrian and Chaldean groups, but I do feel like there is a huge diversity within Iraq that we need to re-acknowledge.
I agree, actually, because I don't think there's a lot of education. And not that we've had formal Iraqi education, but
right.
even in our cultural groups or families about this is what this is where we came from. I know that part. I know what we came from, what we ate, etc. But I think there needs to be more discourse on the different kinds of Iraqis, what Iraqis can look like, all the different types and flavors.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So I went back in 2022 and I hadn't seen a lot of my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins for decades. And it had been such a long time. And obviously Iraq had gone through so much, which we'll get to because you were also in that period of time where I couldn't go.
Oh, yeah.
But we went to this coffee house and we're sitting there and there are these old pictures and portraits up on the wall. And so I'm curious about who they are. And they're like, oh, and I said, because I kind of spotted her. It was an old picture. I'm like, is that Fayrouz on the right? And they're like, yeah, that's Fayrouz. I'm like, who's the person on the left? And they said, oh, that's so-and-so. And I forget her name right now, but they're like, she was a famous Iraqi Jewish singer from the 30s.
Oh.
And she's revered and idolized across Iraq. She's one of the greats. She's right up there with Fayrouz.
Oh, wow.
And Kulthum to Iraqis.
Yeah.
So, but these are the things that, it's very matter of fact there.
Yeah.
And for somebody like me who has spent a lot of time away from Iraq more than there.
Because you were born here, right? You in Chicago.
Here. Yeah. Those are the things that are those are the info nuggets that I need to be able to, pop out and blurb in the middle of a conversation, but I don't have nearly enough of them. I have a 5-trick pony
exactly.
of the 3 to 5 things that are curious facts about Iraq and the Tigris River, but that's about it.
Yeah. People don't even know that they're Iraqi Jews.
Yeah. Oh, there was a huge Iraqi Jewish population.
Yeah.
Massive. And I always ask my parents out of curiosity too. Often I'm like, well, what was it like? Because you think based on the politics that we've lived in for so long that it would be animus and there would be people the people standing across from each other with their fists up and stuff like that. It was just like any other community.
Yeah. From my understanding, it seems like people really coexisted back in the day in Iraq.
Super good. I was about to say that in Spanish. Super bien.
Eso es bien. But yeah, I'm half Sunni and half Shiite. Back in the day, it didn't matter. And to a certain extent, it doesn't either right now. This has kind of been, from what my parents have told me, it's become a big deal over the last, however many years because of geopolitical issues and stuff like that. But yeah, back in the day in Iraq, it was just, everyone got along, you loved your neighbor and it was good.
Yep. I agree. We need to go back to that everywhere. So I have a little bit of a getting to know you feature here.
Cute.
Yeah.
Hey, they're kullish cute.
Hade kullish cute.
Kullish cute.
And basically, this is going to be kind of like a speed test on how Iraqi are you.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Well, don't worry, because chances are you're much more Iraqi than I am.
Okay, got it.
All right.
I'm ready for this. So it's just first thing that comes to my mind, quick, fast.
Yeah. Okay.
Al-Sariya. Okay.
Yes. First question. It's not really a question, but it's...
That's how Iraqi you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even have it. Okay.
I can't get to the point. That's very Iraqi. Actually, it has a setup and then the question.
Okay.
So you're not a doctor or an engineer, but somehow you are Iraqi. Where did your parents go wrong?
That's actually amazing. They went wrong when they moved to the United States. That's where they were. Once they gave me the choice to do what I wanted and to dream, that was the beginning of the end.
Okay. So
there's a bell. That's amazing.
As we go through these,
okay,
it's
great.
kind of a pacer.
And a bell signifies good job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Even now, yeah.
This is wonderful. This is positive reinforcement.
It is.
I've never loved being Iraqi so much. Keep going.
I just got, my mouth was watered for some dog kibble when I heard the bell, but something about Pavlov. So next question is, do you have a family WhatsApp group?
Yes.
How many muted messages do you have in that group approximately right now?
Okay. I don't mute them.
Oh.
I just don't read them. Also, they are not messages. They are good morning gifts. So
Right? Are any of them with
that deserves
sparkles?
a ding ding. I want a ding ding for that.
Oops.
Are any of them with sparkles? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah.
All of them are with sparkles.
They all have sparkles.
Sparkles and kittens and cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And sabah al khair.
Right.
Like,
oh my goodness.
where do they get it? Where do they find these?
Yeah.
Who is on the other
virus.
side? A virus. Yeah, this is that I love you virus.
Yes.
Coming back to haunt us.
So, this does confirm that you're an Iraqi because those gifts are like they're from like message boards from 1997.
They're forwarded straight from my mom's Hotmail. That's what I have decided. I really like to think about, is there like a gift farm somewhere in India where someone's sitting there like getting paid by, I don't know who, to just make Arabic language gifts about good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
I think so.
It's never good evening. Have you ever noticed that? Never
No.
sabah, or never تصبحون على خير. Nope. It's just صباح الخير.
So here's my question though, because somehow our family WhatsApp has weaned out all of the Sabah al-Khair gifts somehow. But when it comes to Eid or Ramadan, okay, so just for white people, the explanation of Eid and Ramadan. Ramadan is the month of fasting. At the end of the month of fasting, you have what's called Eid. There's a second Eid in the lunar calendar. Each one of those is based on the first sighting of the moon to denote the beginning of whatever that season is, whether it's Ramadan or Eid.
Just think of it like 2 Musmases a year.
To what?
Like Christmas. Miss.
Except we don't go over the top commercially the way Christmas does. Like
Now
Christmas,
we're starting to.
Are we really?
Oh, we're starting to. There's like an Eid tree.
What?
And yeah.
No.
There's like spreads. I'm going to start an Eid tree. It's great. I have a Ramadan little corner. My mom has one. It's fun.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we're finally fitting in.
Yeah, exactly.
How about that?
Yeah.
We're finally...
We will gentrify.
America has spread its wings.
Yep. I should make merch.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can be Muslims.
Okay. So then the next question is, who is the first one in your family who is on the lookout for the internet website that either tells you the first sighting of the moon in the middle of Saudi Arabia, or they are out on the rooftop with their binoculars?
Who do you know who's out on rooftops?
I have family members who are waiting with their fingers on the keyboard, ready to hit send. Happy Eid, because they have to be first.
They're moon sighting? You actually have moon sighters in your family?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And for no good reason, other than they have to be first.
So Silver Lake of you.
Silver Lake.
Jamila, I saw the moon.
Right.
No, I think my mom is probably the most religious of the family.
Oh, wow.
So she looks it up. But I think we're all, what ironically is Google is always right. Like whatever it says on the Google calendar is what's always right. So every year we're like, did they see it? And it's like, it's been there. Like it's just kind of a charade.
There's so much I get thrown off by time zones, though. Is it first moon sighting here? Is it first moon sighting somewhere else?
I don't know, but I will say that Sunnis and Shia, they break their fast differently, right? Because like one of them waits for like the sun to start going down, or it's like I think Sunnis break it earlier, whereas some Shia will break it only once it's black outside, like only once like all the rays are gone.
Yeah.
And that's the part where like that's where we like differ. Is like my mom will wait and I will not. I'm like today I abide by the other half of me because I wait until it's like the earliest possible.
I'm going by asking my phone what time is sunset, and that's when I break fast.
But on different prayer apps you can have it where you tell it which school to follow. So some like I think I use I think it's prayer. I forget. Not trying to give a free promo, but you can have it based on like, okay, like tell me when to break my fast based on Saudi Arabia time or Saudi Arabia scholars. Tell me based on these scholars. So there's a lot of different options you can choose based on whatever philosophy you want. That's
kind of like, I don't know if you've ever like been in the corporate world where people are like, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere and they start drinking at like 10 a.m.
100%. Yeah.
It's kind of in that same philosophy.
Somewhere. Yeah. I'm like, well, it's sundown somewhere.
In that case, we could just be fasting for a couple hours a day.
100%.
Right? Mm-hmm. I'm with that. Okay, so I'll give that a gratuitous ding. Best Iraqi restaurant you have found while touring?
Well, thank you. Excellent question. I'm not gonna lie to you. I leave Iraqi restaurants up to my parents because whenever I visit them in Texas, that's all we do. So I feel like I get my fill. And then when I tour, I don't necessarily seek out Iraqi food. I'm a bad boy. No, don't do it.
No, you get a ding.
Okay.
It's okay.
But I will say, my favorite Iraqi restaurant in Houston is, I don't have one. Okay, next one.
Oh.
I feel like there's so many. I don't know.
I didn't know if there were Iraqi restaurants in Houston at all, actually.
So many. Because Houston has a huge Iraqi population.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why my parents moved there. Because I'm from Colorado. They moved to Houston a few years ago because they wanted more Iraqi friends.
Right.
So I think number 3 on the list must be Houston.
Yeah, probably.
So many Iraqi restaurants.
Yeah.
They have like cool activities too. They have like the Arab Iraqi orchestra.
Oh.
And like a bunch of different. My parents have a better social life than I do. There's so many Iraqis down there.
That's fantastic. There is a Turkish restaurant that has like a cafeteria bar called Fadi's in Houston.
Ooh.
And I've never
My
seen
parents have told me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's debatable whether or not it changed hands or if it got better or if it got worse, but every time I've gone, it's been perfectly wonderful.
Delicious.
When you walk in, they have pita bread coming out of an oven on a conveyor belt into a basket that they then put on the counter as you grab your tray and your plate.
You know I'm not eating bread right now. Why would you say that?
Because just the thought of bread raises the oxytocin levels.
My mouth, just watered. I felt it. I felt my salivation.
Well, something for you in a no bread diet at Fadi's would be their lamb shanks. I've never seen so many lamb shanks in my life in one bin on the cafeteria line.
You might actually hear my stomach rumble on this podcast. I can feel it. It's about to happen. I heard about Fadi's. I'm trying to think. There's like this like food truck we always love called Abu Amar Shawarma. But I don't know if it's Iraqi. It might be.
Yeah.
So many good. I heard. Did you hear it?
I heard it.
Yeah, I told you. What did I say?
Wow.
I thought I was joking about the salad. I'm trying to think. I think I had Iraqi food in London, but I'm not really good with names. Such good Iraqi food in Dearborn, but
yes.
As far as like touring, sometimes I tour in like very random parts of the United States. Like it's not always LA, New York. Like it's Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So I'm not like taking an Uber to like Muhammad's Iraqi Salmoon spot in Oshkosh. I'm probably eating at like an Applebee's or whatever is next to my hotel.
Yeah.
So that's the full answer.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're sweating through this one, but you're doing really well.
Okay, thanks.
Next Iraqi authenticity question is, have your parents tried to arrange your marriage before?
No.
Ooh.
No. The conversation, I have a joke about this, about them trying to arrange marriage with me, but it didn't actually happen to me. It happened to my sister. I just took the story and made it my own. They didn't try to. They just like brought it up. There was just like why can't we have a conversation? And she was like, no. She like lost her mind. And I just wrote it all down.
Yeah.
So no, but neither my older sister nor my younger brother, and we're all in our 30s now, are married. And so my dad was like, what's wrong with you guys? And I was like, well, if this is all of us, what's wrong with you? What did you do for us to deserve this? Like, this seems like a your fault thing. But no, they haven't really. They're very laissez-faire. They're very open-minded.
Oh, that's great. I thought they would be flop sweating by now. Just.
Oh, they're having panic attacks, but that's because of my comedy career.
There is no greater breaker of stereotypes than stand-up comedy for Iraqi culture.
They're like, you're going to tell the family secrets on stage, on the internet? Okay. My dad did this. Okay, Reem. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Okay, final Iraqi authenticity question. And it's actually a visual that I'm going to explain for those of us.
Oh, what's this? Oh, okay. I'm gonna.
I just slid over a cloth-covered tray to Reem, and I'm going to take a picture of it like before. Now, if you lift up the cloth, I need you to tell me which one of those plates is typically served in an Iraqi home.
I just want to note that Hazem knows that I'm intermittent fasting, and this is the second time. First, he brought up food verbally, and now he's put it on a plate in front of me, and I just, I just want to vent about that.
We're not going to sabotage your. We do want to talk about the intermittent stuff.
Okay.
But
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's a wonderful guy. He made me chai Iraqi earlier.
Oh, thank you.
And then even with some rose water, which our friend Farid, it's a whole thing. He's a wonderful host. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to lift this up. And then what am I telling him? Ooh.
Yeah.
This is Iraqi AF. Okay. Should I describe what I see?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have a wonderful yellow tray. And in one of the little bowls, we have fistak, which is pistachio.
Yes.
Very Iraqi. That's like our sunflower seeds. No, actually, we have real sunflower seeds. Are those pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds?
Those are pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds. Yeah. So you know how like people in the South just and then like spit out their sunflower seeds?
Yeah.
That's pumpkin seeds for us, which is conveniently right here in another bowl.
Right.
And then we have, what is that? Is that sunflower seeds?
That's sunflower seeds, yeah.
Do you guys use sunflower seeds?
I have a story about those sunflower seeds, but
That's fake.
Those are small ones. They're way too small. We made the mistake of buying the wrong brand.
Those are fake Arab karazat. Arabs don't eat sunflower seeds.
Well, here's the thing. Part of this question is a decoy.
Oh, so you tried to trick me.
Well, just a little.
You did, and I knew it. I saw it, and I said, what is that? I knew it. Okay.
So the sunflower seeds are really small, but like I know, for example, my mom loves them. Loves them.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing a bag to her next week, but they're really big and wide and big stripes, and they're extra crunchy.
Ooh. These are interesting because they're just all black.
They're tiny. Yeah, they don't have enough stripe. I've become a little bit of a sunflower seed connoisseur.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh,
just
I can't
in
wait
recent
to eat
weeks.
this with you.
Yeah.
And then in the other bowl, we have mixed nuts, cocktail nuts, you might call them.
Yes.
We have cashews, we have almonds, which is loas, I think, or joas, one of them.
I'm not sure.
And then there's also some pistachio in there. That looks mighty delicious. Mm-hmm. So normally in an Arab Iraqi setting, you would put this out before dinner, after dinner, during dinner, and everyone would just like they cut it's called karazat, but you like what's the word? What's the verb?
I don't know, but
Karkaz?
we always called it hab. Just
Hab
seeds.
means seeds. Yeah.
And so in our house, hab was just all of it.
Yeah. Everywhere. It's in all the bowls. All the china has the crystal bowls, hab.
Yeah.
And then that and like Macintosh candy. That's all you ever have.
Are those like Jordan almonds?
No, Macintosh candy. It's like that purple box. Every Arab household has it. They reappropriate this purple tin for like sewing materials and stuff like that.
Okay.
But Macintosh candy, it's like very colorful chocolate. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's better than like grandma candy, like the hard candy. It's not hard candy. It's chocolate.
Okay. This is completely.
Every time you go for guests, you go to Khattar house, you bring Macintosh candy.
Oh my goodness.
It's a whole thing.
See, I kind of feel not Iraqi right now. Not very Iraqi.
Yeah. Where's the buzzer? I want to hit it.
There's the. Let's see. There must be a buzzer. Let me see. Maybe this.
That was fantastic. Better than I imagined it. Now you're Iraqi. The fact that you brought this out after giving me chai, very Iraqi.
Yeah.
You get a. Oh.
The ding?
Yeah.
I get this. Okay.
Oh, okay, there it is.
We can deal with that. So, yeah, I think you passed.
Yay.
Yeah, with flying colors.
Shukran jazilan.
Afwan, yeah. So, your story and your trajectory have been really interesting. You first off, we joke about the whole thing is like, letting your parents down by not becoming a doctor or a lawyer if you're Iraqi, because they're just hugely status conscious when it comes to degrees and professions and all of that.
Status conscious and also like stability conscious.
Yeah. Like a lot of immigrants, right? Just but within Iraq, that's always the case too. They're not emigrating to the US necessarily, but they're very focused on you becoming like a pharmacist or a professional, a doctor, a lawyer, something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that factor of, needing to have a profession goes up like tenfold once you come to the US.
Oh, yeah. It's like, what did they sacrifice it all for then? For you to have dreams?
Right. Those concepts of I want to date this person.
For you to start a podcast?
Yeah, exactly. You've met my father. Yes.
Is he still giving you shit now?
I think his question was, when are you going to start making money with it?
Oh my God. It's never going to end.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So not that, anything of a radio career and the decades.
You could be president.
Endured.
And he'd be like, when will you be supreme leader? It's never going to end.
Yeah.
That was the most freeing day of my life, truthfully, was when I decided, and when I realized, I was like, you will never have full approval. So stop seeking it. And that day was the day everything changed. That's when I got it. That's when I actually got the approval, was when I stopped seeking it.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a nice little, telling your 15-year-old self type of thing. Don't wait for approval. Don't wait for acceptance.
I'm still trying to consciously unlearn a lot of things, but you were saying.
So, but you did, you how does it go? You balked the traditional path. You followed your own dreams. What were your dreams? When did you realize it? And how did you go about establishing, the practice?
Yeah. I think my dreams were always to be an entertainer, which to me, I thought was actor. That was the only, casing that I thought that came in watching Disney Channel as a kid. I was like, oh, kids on TV, being silly, having fun, actor. That's what I want to be.
Yeah.
I was always the funny kid. I was always the funny friend. I was a fat kid. So I feel like all fat kids are, because we learn very early on. We're like, okay, if we want people to like us, they have to laugh with us or at us and stuff. So I feel like that's it was a strategy, I should say, growing up. But yeah, growing up, I was always the kid. Whenever we'd have a telemarketer call the house, my parents would hand me the phone. I would do accents. I'm really good at accents. I would put on sketches for the family. Even when we went to Iraq, when I was 10, I was like, I have a play. And my mom was like, I'm going to kill myself. So she was like, do not do that. She was so embarrassed. And I was like, okay, now here's a dance. I just loved it. So yeah, I think deep down in my heart of hearts, I always wanted to be a performer of some type. I'm musically challenged, so not in that arena. But I think it was never really, we kind of talked about this the other day, where it's it's not encouraged to be a performer, and it's also looked down upon. It's kind of lower level, or it's seen as there's one thing to deviate from the doctor, lawyer, engineer thing. And then there's another to be a performer, which they viewed as low class, or maybe not as respectable even as people. So even when I would tell my parents, I was like, I want to act. They're like, no, that's not. Even my uncles were like, no, you don't want to be an actor. And I was like, no, I do. I have a joke in my stand-up where they asked me, it was a true story. They're like, Reem, what's your dream? And I was like, to be an actress. He was like, change your dream. And I was like, that's not how that, what? So that was always there. But I think I was always very academic minded. So, and I learned from a young age too. I was like, okay, if you just get really good grades, nobody messes with you. They leave you alone because they think, oh, she's set. She's on the right path. So I was a super AP class 4.0, 4.3. I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Got into Harvard, didn't get off the wait list. That's my fun fact of life. But I gamed the system. It wasn't because I was super into that. It's just because I wanted to do what I wanted to do with the safety blanket. So that kind of factors in later. When I eventually graduate high school and college, I ended up studying marketing in college because it was the closest thing I could figure out to how I can express my personality in a professional way. Because I was like, I'm too personable and funny and charismatic and this and that to be a doctor. I had the grades for it. I'm actually very interested in human anatomy. I'm reading a book about cadavers right now. I'm very interested in it. I could have done it. Yeah. But I didn't want to. So marketing felt here's a way I could channel my personality and that creative part of me into something professional. And I always knew I was going to live in LA just to be around. I wanted to work in entertainment. So when I got here with my marketing degree, I just started working in marketing for movie studios because it felt like I was not I was close enough to my dream to where it satisfied, it like satiated that urge for a few years where I was like, I'm working at red carpets and I'm attending movie premieres and sometimes I get to go to sets and da-da-da-da-da. And that felt cool enough to me because I was like, I'm doing the thing that I dreamt of doing.
Right.
Until I one day reached a point where I realized I was like, no, you're not. You're creative adjacent.
Ooh.
And that was like, that was a very tough moment for me, and that led to a whole slew of issues. But when I realized, I was like, oh, I'm 20 feet from stardom. But I couldn't quite quantify why I was so hurt by it. And I think it's because I hadn't even admitted to myself what I wanted to do. That would kind of like all of that childhood fun stuff. It was like a deep down inside dream, but I didn't allow myself to say, I want to be an actress, because then it would be too vulnerable. Then I'd be admitting to something that I A, wasn't doing, and B, could maybe be terrible at, and people would laugh at me and think I'm taking myself too seriously. And anytime I would ever talk about like, yeah, maybe I'll act, people would have 1,001 things to say. Like, it's really hard, right? Like, it's like no one makes it. Like, this and that. And so I learned to just be silent about it and not talk about it. And that's kind of when I just rode the wave through the first few years of my career. And so when I started stand-up, it came from a very dark place, actually. I'm like a chronically optimistic person. I'm always happy and positive, not toxic positive. I just always view the world with like as a glass half full.
Yeah.
And so when I reached this point where I was like depressed and had this like mental breakdown, it's because I had no personal fulfillment and didn't even know what that meant. So it was through a lot of like meditation classes and like personal reflection and reading and things that I finally asked myself, like, okay, not even in the scope of like, what should I be doing for work, but just in the scope of like, what makes me happy as a person? Because obviously, like, I thought I reached this level of happiness, because in me, like, I've always had weight loss issues. I was a fat kid, right? So it's like, it's always been like this huge issue in my life. And finally, this one year in 2016, I had like lost all the weight. I reached my goal weight. I dyed my hair blonde. I was working at, I think, Disney at the time. I was like, on paper, I was all these things that I had attributed to success or thought success was, reached it, was like, oh, I'm miserable. I'm not happy. And then once that happened, it was a domino effect. I just was like terribly, sad. So when I got to that point, I was like, okay, well, I need to find some kind of joy. What brings me joy? And I was like, well, at the end of the day, I love making people laugh. It truly is my favorite thing in the world to make people laugh, whether it's strangers or my family or in a conversation. I just love it. So when I resolved to do stand-up, it was just to go to an open mic. It wasn't like I was going to be a comedian, because I didn't know a comedian was a job. And so I went to this open mic and everything clicked. I was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. Like again, not even vocationally. It just was like, oh, I found my purpose. Yeah. And that's kind of how the ball started rolling. And that's when I learned like, well, this can be a career. You can make money at this. Like, and that's when I even realized, like, up until today, I was like, oh, I don't think I actually wanted to be an actress. I like acting, but it's not what stand-up is to me. Right. So that's kind of like the long journey to the beginning of the journey.
So what was that moment like? That moment where, I mean, what were you doing something in that moment? Were you like
the mental breakdown?
Yeah. Oh. Sorry.
The meant to be.
I had to ask the Barbara Walters question. Like,
no, it's actually,
what was that uncomfortable moment like?
It's a beautiful moment. Now that I look back on it, in the moment, it was weird. But I always think back about this. And I'm also someone who loves to like find symbolism in life and draw meaning from things and like look back. I told you I'm chronically positive. Sort of, it's a lot. But it was like a Saturday, I think in 2016. I'm really good friends with my older sister, and she was like off doing something. And I found myself in the car driving around LA, and it was like a Saturday at like 11 a.m. So I was trying to figure out what to do. Right. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, like, do I go get food? And I was like, well, do I eat by myself? Where do I go? Should I call someone? Like, are those like my party friends and my real friends? Do I call like a coworker? Should I like go to a workout class? Like, I just couldn't figure out what to do. And I was driving in circles, literal circles, trying to figure out where to go. And I realized I had no destination and nothing that was pulling me towards anything. And that's when the mental breakdown happened, which is crazy. Now to talk about it, it sounds like so poetic, but really in the moment, I was just like, what do I do with myself? Where do I go? And that's when I like started having a panic attack, called my sister, and she was like, you're being weird. Pull over, go to a yoga class or something, because you need to like calm down. And I pulled over and I found a meditation studio. And that's kind of where I began my, I would say, like maturation in terms of who I was and whatnot. But yeah, it was literally just me driving around LA, realizing like, what do I do now? Right. Because you're always like chasing something. You're chasing the body or the job or the feeling of being in a hot, cool new place. But then when all of that goes away and you've like reached what you thought you were trying to, or where you thought you were trying to get, then what? And that's what happened for me. And that's when I was like, I need to look deeper because something's wrong.
Do you ever wonder what things might have looked like if you hadn't had that internal process and conversation?
Oh, I'd make so much more money. No, I do think about that because I probably would have stayed. I absolutely would have stayed in entertainment or marketing specifically, and I've just like climbed the ranks. I guess probably made what I thought to be more money and just like stayed in the shadow. That the worst thing I can imagine right now is to be 20 feet from stardom, is to be this close to your dream, but somebody else living it. So I probably just would have like just kept doing what I was doing, but like not really found satisfaction from it. You know what I mean? Like it just, but I know that's for what I'd be doing for sure, because it's hard to, it's also like, it's a privilege to be able to work in the entertainment industry. It's something that I had like sought for so long. And I was like, how cool. Like even for you too, it's like, there's not a lot of Iraqis there. And like, it's this dream, especially when you're not from here, it's this dream. So like part of you doesn't want to let it go because like you worked so hard to get here. And so I probably just would have like accepted it. And I don't want to say it's mediocrity because it's a cool life, you know, but for me, knowing like what I was capable of, like what my potential was. And that was what was most heartbreaking. I remember the moment too. I think this was like the moment before the driving around was like, I was at a premiere and I was watching someone, I don't even remember who it was, but I was watching someone like walk up the carpet and I was like, dude, like I'm funnier than them. Like I could do this better. And I was like, well, yeah, and I gave myself excuses. Well, they probably this and nepotism and they're that, and if only, but that's kind of what instigated it all. So
comparison in that moment actually worked for you.
100%. Yeah. I do believe that like you sometimes have to have like the dark night of the soul, right? Like even to be able to appreciate things, like you have a dark moment or a dark experience. Now you can appreciate the light a lot more or see more clearly, because before then I was kind of just like lost. I was sucked into this whole glamour of LA.
Right.
And it took that for me to, no one ever asked me what I wanted to do. They did in aptitude tests and whatever. And I remember in high school, I was like, I want to be maybe like a producer or like an actor or this, not realizing I just wanted to like monetize my personality and be funny. But I don't think that was encouraged, because it's like, how do you be funny professionally?
Right. So. Well, a big number of people today are doing that through social media, but you have not only the social media part of it, but you did the what do they call it? The hard knock life of stand-up comedy touring. So you like did the in-person, really rough and tumble lifestyle.
Yeah. Did past tense?
Oh, you still do.
Present.
Yeah. Which is a grind, right?
Yeah. It's easier now than it was, but yeah. I did both. So I started stand-up in 2016. As soon as I started, I was like, oh, this is it. So I took a stand-up class just to learn like the ins and outs, got a cool community out of that, started just performing at shows pretty early on, because usually people take a while to like do open mics and then eventually get into a place where they can do shows. But I started doing shows immediately because I had the marketing knowledge.
Yeah.
So it all ended up working out in my favor. I used to be so upset about this. I used to be like, I wasted time. Everyone starts stand-up when they're in their early 20s. I started when I was 26. I wasted time doing marketing. And then now I'm like, no. I'm way further ahead because I have that background and a business background. I know like, okay, like, be focused on how to promote yourself and present yourself. And when I took that stand-up class, I got a 5-minute tape out of it. And I used that tape to leverage to get onto more shows. So while everyone else was out there doing open mics and struggling, I was like getting booked on shows with people who've been doing comedy for a few years. And then when you have real audiences, you can develop more and more and more. And so it really ended up helping me even to today. That whole marketing escapade has benefited me in like meetings I'm taking around town. Cause it's like, I've been at the studios. I know how this works. Let's just cut straight to it.
That's a huge advantage.
Huge. Absolutely huge. And now I have like a great network of people who are at this point, like heads of production companies, like really like, working professionals in the entertainment industry that I didn't really need anything from. They were just my friends. And now I can ask them for advice or, get considered for opportunities. Cause now that I'm a creative, they're like, oh, we were looking for someone in this realm. Reem, why don't we put you up for it?
Right.
So it's cool.
I think that gets a little bit of a bad rap, the idea of networking. And coming from somebody who is probably not as good as he should be, myself speaking for myself, at the networking part of it, because, like many people, I like dogs more than I like people most of the time.
All of us, man. So I like.
But it is true. It's like, for all of my radio career, I never got a job that wasn't based on word of mouth or, reputation or, just people knowing me and my work, which
Absolutely.
I was lucky enough to have people who would speak positively about that, and, certainly, backdoor payments to keep them quiet about the acquittals helped.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think this is where people mess up in LA is they take networking too literally. It's just when they say who it's like, just make friends with people and be genuine about it.
Yeah.
Don't go into these like events, like seeking stepping stones to the next gig or whatever. Because when you're like that, and I know a lot of people who are like that, it's just humans have an instinct. We know when you're trying to get something out of us. We know when you're not really our friends. And that's when that happens, you start doing it back to them. And that's what they mean by everyone in LA is fake. It's because people are trying to play the game when you don't have to play. Just don't engage in the game. Just, be yourself, have your friends, and then you circumvent the game.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much I want to get to about the intermittent fasting.
Ooh. Ramadan light.
About Iraq. So I want to get to a few more things about your life.
Yeah.
It is a really great conversation. We're going to do a part 2. Will you do a part 2 with us?
No.
Perfect. Very Iraqi.
Just kidding. Of course.
Reem Edan, thank you for joining us on Arabs and Media. Remember to subscribe at our Substack for an article that accompanies this podcast, along with all of the links to Reem's socials and a couple of shout outs in there as well. Thanks for listening to Arabs and Media.
Bye. Actually, can I get more sparkling water?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love sparkling water.